Probe Step, the single greatest sales skill ever. The ability to ask the right questions at the right time is a priceless skill for any recruiting professional. There is absolutely no doubt that properly structured, well-delivered, and correctly articulated questions are the most essential tools for successful recruiting. Let's take a look at some of the reasons why. Questions put you in control of the interaction. Questions prove you're interested in learning more about your applicants and their interests than in talking about yourself. Questions allow applicants to do most of the talking. Questions allow you to learn when, how, what, and why an applicant is interested in your recruiting opportunity. Questions give you time to think. Questions display an image of professionalism and depth of interest. Questions position you as a problem solver. Questions prepare you to present your opportunities in the precise ways your applicants want to see them. Now that you can see why questions are so important, here are 10 principles to help you build great questions that will keep you in control of the sales process and allow your prospects to tell you exactly what they'll commit to, as well as why and when and under what conditions they will commit. 1. Pre-call or pre-appointment planning is the first element of asking the right questions. You should already know exactly what you plan to ask your applicant before you get in front of him or her. Make sure, however, that when you phrase your questions, your statements don't sound canned or monotonic, like they're coming directly off a government checklist. 2. Most of your questions should be open-ended and indirect. When your applicant is asked only yes or no questions, he or she is discouraged from giving more information. This not only hinders your ability to get extensive information from your applicant, it also sets a negative tone. On the other hand, open-ended questions help applicants tell you how they feel, what they want, or what they think. Asking the right questions are basic sales skills, and they should be practiced over and over again. 3. Strategically phrasing questions so the applicant conveys how he or she perceives problems, needs, or expectations can help you improve the chances of gaining commitment and closing the sale. Your task in the probe step is to get the applicant to do more than just talk. When the applicant is asked the right questions, he or she will provide you with guidelines concerning how your recruiting opportunity can be sold. 4. Identify the one dominant drive every applicant has. In other words, what's the primary reason he or she is willing to discuss recruiting opportunities with you? When you begin to notice a common thread throughout your applicant's answers, you are usually honing in on the applicant's dominant need, problem, or expectation. Once you identify this dominant drive, you should aim your questions in its direction to further your understanding of the way your recruiting opportunity can satisfy what the applicant is trying to accomplish. 5. Attempt to ask several questions that will help you understand the applicant's motivations to commit to your branch of service. These motivations are important because if you focus on what is important to your applicant, you will stand a much better chance of gaining their commitment. 6. Avoid offensive or insensitive questions. While you might think this goes without saying, it is common for recruiters to fail to evaluate the way they ask questions. What they might see as polite or effective may be overbearing or insulting to others. For example, asking a question to an applicant such as, "If we could show you a way to pay for college, you'd be interested, wouldn't you?" That's old school recruiting. Don't use those types of tie-down questions where the only reasonable answer the applicant give is a yes. Instead, ask questions in a polite and inoffensive manner if you hope to earn trust from your applicant. For example, if we could help you finance your education for college, how would that impact your future goals and your family? 7. Starting with broad questions and then moving towards more narrow ones is another extremely useful guideline. Broad questions tend to be less threatening than narrow questions, so start with more general questions to produce basic information. Then, once you understand your applicant's situation, move into more detailed questions that will allow you to point to the specific ways the recruiting opportunity can aid the applicant. 8. Easy-to-answer questions will encourage your applicant to open up to you. An applicant will avoid talking about things he or she does not understand. Trying to prove your intelligence and ability through questions containing extensive or specialized vocabulary will completely damage your chances of gaining a commitment. Instead, stick to easy-to-comprehend questions to keep your applicant on the same level with you. 9. Asking the right questions will help you guide the interview and to keep the tone positive. Some applicants may tend to stray away from the subject at hand, your goal of gaining a commitment. But if you know what you're doing when you ask questions, you can avoid this time-consuming practice. Furthermore, keep the interview tone positive by asking questions in ways that allow your applicants to agree with you. Studies show that most people prefer to agree rather than assert themselves and disagree. And 10, ask your questions and then be quiet and listen to the applicant attempt to answer. Interruptions, without a doubt, will turn your applicant away from you. This may seem obvious to most, but you cannot listen to the applicant's needs as long as you are talking. Therefore, let your applicant do most of the talking during an interview. By keeping these 10 tips in mind as you question your applicants, you will greatly increase your chances of gaining accessions.